Hello.
Knock, knock, sir.
Hello.
Are we in here?
Yep.
Okay.
How are you?
Good.
Ha! It's working. Good. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Very good. There we go.
Sounds. I hear you. We can turn everything down. Hi, Ashley.
How are you guys doing today?
I can hear you all. Our sounds are screaming at each other.
Are you guys in the same room?
Yeah.
That's why. You need to turn off the mic on 2 of those.
Check. You are that.
I had it on mute.
Hello?
Oh, mine's off. Hello. Mine's off. It's off now.
Okay, so 1's off. We still need 1 more. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right. That should be doing it. All right, so I have 3 people in the same room, all videoing, but I think I've muted. Okay, Ashley, I'm going to mute you.
He's meeting you.
Okay. Now everybody's muted. Okay, so I can't hear any of you now. Probably on purpose. I don't have the ability to unmute them once I mute them. That's kind of interesting.
We could, I don't know.
Hello? Hi, we can hear you now. Is it not, you're not getting the feedback issue anymore?
Starting.
They have to be muted.
Well, so
Do they have to have the volume down all the way too?
well, it depends on how many. Yeah. How many
There's
have
3
the same
people in the
volume,
room.
then yeah.
So everybody, only 1 person should be unmuted. And 1 person should have.
Because otherwise they feedback.
Okay. Okay. So what you need to do, is it easier if I type it or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. So what you need to do is the people who are not on the microphone, so Miss Patterson and Miss Heron, you need to turn the volume all the way down on your computers.
Yeah, it's on mute.
Okay.
Because you're in the same room.
Mine is on mute.
Okay. Notice we're not getting feedback anymore?
But now I can't hear him at all.
You should be able to hear me through Toya's computer.
Yeah, there.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got good sound. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put up the PowerPoint that that we'll be using, so you won't see my face anymore. You'll just see the PowerPoint. I'm sure that'll make all of you happier, and we'll go from there. I hear people coming, so that's a good sign. All right, so you can see the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Okay, if you have any questions, be sure to speak up, and we'll have it set up. So we're going to be starting here in about 10 minutes probably. We have people who are just arriving from our other schools, so we should be getting ready to start here pretty quick.
Okay.
Okay? All right, we are all online. We have our people from Hardy Brown here. You are all set. This is all set up for you, so you can control it, or I can control it for you if you want.
Sure, why don't you? That'd be great.
So it's interesting because it's going back and forth between when somebody talks there, it brings their screen up to their face up.
Wait, and forth between.
Oh, I don't even see that on mine. Mine says a PowerPoint. You see something on yours?
Flipping back and forth.
All you guys.
Oh.
You're like a fog. You're in a fog.
Yeah, my camera's like weird.
It's foggy.
Okay. Maybe that's what I should do then. And I've got it set up so that's on one screen, and then this is on the other screen, so I can monitor everything. So we're having probably too much fun. Okay. So if I click on it and it's outlined, that means it keeps it like that.
For you,
For me,
not for everyone else.
not for them. So when they talk, they're seeing themselves?
Whoever's actively talking. Well, it depends on what they've done.
Okay. So if you guys don't want your screen to show you when you're talking, all you have to do is click on the screen that has the PowerPoint in it right now. On the bottom right-hand side, there's 4 pictures. There's one of each of you, and then there's one of the screen itself. If you click on it and it has a blue circle around it, it won't flash back and forth like it was before.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
You got it? So that way it's not flipping off of our screen. You'll be able to see, and it looks like the rest of our group is here. Hello, hello. Okay. All right. I think. Hello. Hello, hello. Uh-oh. Okay.
That's why I'm confused.
You
want
one
If
person
you
has
want to talk, he said, and you don't want your face to be like
That's.
Click on.
Wes, don't you use your
Just make sure this is clicked and it's
have-
because it keeps going back and
Oh,
forth.
yours is
between
still
all
going
4
back
of
and
them.
forth?
Yeah.
So see, if you look here, this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's
I
what
see.
everybody else is seeing.
So what if I hold? Oh, you know what? Hold
Did you
on.
click on the blue circle
We
around
were
it?
recording it.
Yeah, now
I
it
see
is. That's what he means.
In case somebody.
But you had to conflict.
Thinking Nina might not, or Miss Dillon may not be here, or is she coming today?
Oh, good.
I'm
Make
seeing,
sure that blue
I'm
is
seeing you in a fog. I'm seeing Isabel's mom walk by.
I don't know what you were talking about. So it's me.
Okay, that makes sense.
Will Mrs. Rom be here, Ms. Williams?
No.
Really?
Oh.
That's news to us.
Yes. Do you know this, or you're just guessing?
Well, I know that he doesn't really have time with it. If it's
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
and so
okay.
So do we?
We should, yeah, that's a conversation for later then. Okay,
Is
thank you.
Mr. Atkins going to be here?
Yes, he's on an IEP and he's on his way. We'll just come in at the perfect time, and Chelsea and Ashley are coming.
Right.
Is that more than you ever wanted to know? And isn't it
Chelsea
like
and
weird that I
Ashley?
know that?
Chelsea
Maybe
and
it's
Ashley.
maybe
Chelsea-
Chelsea's not coming.
No.
Maybe it's just
Ashley?
Ashley.
No, I don't think Ashley is either.
Miss Sinky.
Nope.
Hold me together. I'm just saying.
Okay.
what
Very
I was
interesting.
told.
Very interesting.
Where did Miss?
Her name was Williams.
Never really in her room a whole lot.
No.
Did we try Lakeshore?
You need help?
Now
If you do, I can come on Friday, but not until after I do makeups here.
I think I can do it on Friday. I think I'm gonna be able to squeeze it in tomorrow. I'm just
we do.
I'm
I've seen it a long time ago.
and the schedule person.
Me too.
So I scheduled it. I had it arranged, and I asked for the coverage. I had
The anchor standards? Anchor standards. Yeah, anchor standards. The full.
and they were misinformed.
There.
What are you saying there?
W?
No. Well, I didn't ask for the record because it's
Ah.
not. She can't say
Yeah.
that would give her permission, and they said, "Oh yeah, she'll be here."
Understood.
Skills, craft structure, integration of knowledge and ideas, and then the range of reading and flow text.
That would be an impressive trick if she could manage both.
Yes, I'm going to take the CSAT while I'm sitting. What do you do? I'm already
just
plugged
as
in.
soon see my thing so I know what's coming up next. I don't know what's coming up next. Memorize.
Those are the only things I know for his English.
I don't remember any of it. I don't even know why I'm here.
Like these ones apply to all the things.
Sometimes. Sometimes he knows who he is. Okay.
I'd like to forget.
So then you want me to disconnect.
No, you can keep it on. I'll just look at my.
Okay. Okay. But then you're not going to plug in though. Because if you plug in, you're going to confuse.
Like how do they research these core standards?
Website we were looking
Anchor standards.
at. Laura's and I was, when I taught 5th grade,
You guys have already like.
explore. When I teach Amerigo Vespucci,
For it, right?
she's telling me to, so he's trying to go the myth, because it's somehow I got roped
It's not really a.
Do you mind if I take yours out and put mine in? Okay.
How did I get roped into this?
The only issue is I
couldn't
won't
say
be
no.
projecting what's on the screen for
Yes,
them.
I read.
My lesson.
Oh, no, I want them. Okay.
Was the email to us? Yeah, it was when I handed it out.
This is
And that we were gonna be, yeah. And starting next year, I'm sure we're gonna be utilizing these again.
Say the exact same thing, like I
If they
normally
don't
do.
remember anything all year, I bet they remembered that story and remember the lesson. And they didn't know that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were focusing on math.
Yeah, this is, yeah. So,
Because remember, we're doing math and then ELA later.
yeah. The practice standards are what apply to like all the grade levels for math, right? The mathematical practices.
This is so much easier to know about.
And basically what we started doing was visiting classes and just checking off. I mean, most of you guys do this anyway, but it's good to just be, know.
This is really cool. I like that it's like,
What it says.
Yeah.
Yes.
Check.
Perfect. Then it goes along with everything a person will come in and look at. Guided practice.
I don't even remember about these.
Since I know how to do it, I think I'll do all the work. And you can get tired. And I'll just say, oh, no. Oh. And then, I think it's all the way to the end.
This too.
You can either keep the fish or go full. I'll get full. It's my son. I'll get full.
Places have an all the time of it.
I'm not asking any questions. Right, I'm sorry, that's real talk. I'm so sorry.
I miss working with you, Miss Harris.
I said, oh, I'm gonna work with Ashley.
Back in action.
Thank you for, you are so thoughtful.
Oh, with the
teacher appreciation. Yeah. Still like working on the skills. Highlighting
I think we want to give everybody the time they need to get here.
their spelling pattern. It was like, throw some more in there.
Very good. Very good. So we're still missing. So Miss Rom's not coming for sure, right?
It's not.
I loved all
So I
those.
see
Anytime
Williams,
someone was
Mr.
stranded,
Adams,
Mr.
Mr.
Live or die. I would
So, like,
ask
Lord of the
questions.
Flies?
Yep.
Lord of the Flies, yes. That was my favorite one. Like,
So let's give Mr. Adams a couple minutes.
So did you watch Lost?
Yeah, I was going to.
But it is gonna take.
Oh, maybe I saw some wild.
Too.
I need.
All-time favorite show.
I'm a very logical
But
person.
you know what? I tried to watch it
What
the
was that?
second
Everything has to be
Wonderful. It was just like,
full out and finish.
and I wanted to, yes, and I wanted to.
Throughout the previous.
That was
Yeah.
I know when Lost was new because
What I'm gonna do is like follow the existing first grade lesson plans. I'm just gonna cut and paste.
Netflix.
Okay, so Hardy Brown people, can you guys hear Craig okay when he's talking?
Can you hear me while I'm talking?
Yes.
Yes, very good. We're gonna wait a couple more minutes to see if Mr. Atkins can get here because he's coming from an IEP meeting, and today's meeting will be shorter than our normal meetings. It doesn't have as much information to pack into it as we do otherwise, and we're going to be going back and forth between the PowerPoint you're seeing, and at some point I'm going to close that from presentation mode and leave it so where I can take notes so you can see the notes that we're taking. So if you have any questions, you'll be able to basically ask me the questions, and we'll pass those on to Mr. Atkins, or I'll answer them myself as we get into that conversation. And I'll turn the volume up on this loud enough so everybody at the table can hear you guys. I might even put you on the big screen at some point so everybody can see you too, but we'll see how that goes. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Very good. We're going to give Mr. Atkins probably 2 or 3 more minutes. Please.
So what does it just last mean?
Oh, at that
Well, what
point,
do
I
you-
couldn't care less.
What do you think it means? Did you see it?
What is the
The
symbology?
ending was
They, what? Okay, so the act.
Weren't they all dead in the first place? Isn't that how it was described?
No.
Yes, it was. They were already dead. That was the whole point.
No, they weren't.
That's why the ending was so bad.
No.
From what I heard, and I didn't even watch it. I just heard that that was why everybody was so mad about it.
And then they got that. As in their afterlife, they find what they.
The island was their afterlife.
No.
All right. You don't like the way the ending has been written
That's why
about.
I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, they did not die when they passed on the island, and the island was not purgatory. But the time that they spent on the island and the people that they knew and met there ended up being the most influential and important of their lives. So when they did pass away at different times, at different points for different people, they all kind of came back together on the island, and then when they were all back together again, they all went on to heaven together. And that's why not all the characters were ready to go back. Go on. The physicist was important. It was a little bit, but it was not horrible. It was there was a civil war amongst losties over whether it was wonderful or horrible, and I'm kind of Switzerland.
All right. I think we need to get going. I'll catch Mr. Atkins up. I don't want to waste anybody's time, so I want to value everybody's time. So, Mr. McJunkin, you're on.
Well, this will be exciting and fun. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. All right, we're just going to go quickly through the purpose of our our gathering today focused on Common Core implementation. We have topics that we need to consider, and I'm going to lead us in getting some ideas for what those actually should be. If together we need to determine that. We need to also take a look at assigning some topic leaders so that we're sharing the value of this as a group. And we do have a little bit of homework that you'll be taking back to your respective sites before we close. So let's go ahead to the next slide. We have two major objectives, and they are that we will determine our top 3 to 4-ish Common Core implementation areas for this coming school year. We will also determine a leader for each area. So those are our objectives. Now our outcome by the end of our 3rd session, 2 weeks from today, will be that we have an outline of the professional development that we want to accomplish in 3 different areas. The Summer Symposium, which is a 3-day period at the end of July. The 2-week Summer PD that follows that, and then our Wednesdays throughout the year. Because starting in this next year, for 2014-2015, all 4 schools will be having a Wednesday afternoon early out session. So they will have a minimum day on Wednesdays, with time for us to devote as a staff together toward accomplishing our professional development goals. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. As you know, we've had a little bit of Common Core. Started almost a year ago when the Sacramento County Office of Education came out to us with their experts to deliver an overview of Common Core in math and language arts. We got a little bit of an idea, kind of a deeper dive on both of them, and that went into text-dependent instruction in English language arts. It also went into looking more closely at the math practice standards for Common Core math. In October, they came out and went in a little deeper in both of those areas again. So we've had a deeper dive with some more hands-on. We were at Allen Rowe at that time. And then I had the good fortune of getting to work with kindergarten and first grade teachers at the beginning of the year as I was doing kind of an experimental foray into more implementation of text-dependent instruction in the classroom through English language arts instruction. And actually it went really wonderfully. I hope to be able to share that at some time. But at this point, the question is, what sorts of things do you feel are topics that we should consider?
All right, so I'm going to fix the little mistake we just had. I'm going to be bringing up the PowerPoint for you guys to see in San Bernardino. And this is where we're going to actually be typing in the topics that we're going to be talking about. So can everybody see that okay? Or are you seeing me right now?
We see you.
Aha, let me fix that so you're seeing the right thing.
That right?
That should work.
Yeah.
And now you should be seeing where we're taking the notes. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So our first so again, just to recap what Craig said, we're going to develop a list of things to talk about as it relates to the Common Core state standards. So we want to start by kind of polling the room. What are some things that are on your mind right now? What are some things that you're thinking about that you have concerns about going into next year as we start to think about really digging into the Common Core and getting ourselves prepared to teach to the Common Core standards? So let's just take a minute. Go ahead and discuss it amongst yourselves first, and we'll come back and talk about it. So take a minute and talk about what you're thinking, and then we're going to share out. Party Brown, I'm going to have you guys share out some of your ideas, so go ahead and share with each other, and then let's do 2 minutes. Does that sound like a good plan? Everybody okay with 2 minutes?
Yes.
Go ahead, go for 2 minutes.
Keeping in mind we're still using the same curriculum, right? So I guess how to adapt would be the obvious one, how to adapt the curriculum to the Common Core way of thinking.
Mhm.
So instead of, so that's what I'm thinking. So how to, turn the objectives, all of this, like make it real, from a curriculum standpoint. That would be like my number one thing.
Right.
So we started this summer
Mhm.
with Craig looking at how to change the questions,
Right.
text-dependent questions. And what I know a big part of our Common Core standards would be presentations. So doing performance-based activities. And we do have some performance-based assessments in our assessment books.
Yeah.
And then also do portfolios for students to present. So like what we did earlier with all of the culture day,
Mhm.
like history program, maybe make it more of a multicultural program at some time, where students can present what they've learned.
Right.
And then typing, you
Yeah.
also have to consider that. That's what we talked about. So like you said, like documentation definitely how did that turn over the document? This is the start.
Right.
But then making our lessons, our actual lessons more performance based.
And like deeper level thinking too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of it too is like surface stuff. Like we need to like go beyond the, get them to think.
So for example, lesson activities have to be constructed. Also allowing time in your routine for students to actually come and present their constructive response. Having students work in cooperative groups, peer teaching, peer editing, making checklists, like all of the things that they do have to be tangible and then have to apply it.
Yeah.
So they have to type their answers out. They have to use the computer to prove their thinking, what they have to do. Everything has to be project and presentation.
Right.
Which is good, because that's kind of where I was going to with yours,
Yeah.
implementing it along with our curriculum and aligning the two standards. And then I was also going, and I'm also going your way with the technology. How are you going to technology where it's not an overload for our scholars? They're doing a regular curriculum and then the core, and then we have to do the technology piece. Like, how are you going to just make it fit to where it's an overwhelming situation for them?
I had the ability to kind of get in front of it, and I didn't know exactly.
I feel like more have the technology part because I pretty much run everything off my projector, web camera, computer every day. So the only thing that I never thought about was using the computer as a method of making the constructive responses. So I like that a lot because like my students, they do like different things on them, but actually like answering the question and like using the computer to answer, I like that idea. That would be adaptive.
Makes a lot of sense.
So, a lot.
Allowing them to get those skills they need with the computer, they're lacking.
Yeah.
Smarter Balance is the test.
They're punching like in the room, like during the testing. I was like, oh my god.
In order to meet, right? If we agree that the assessment that part of balance is doing is actually assessing.
Experiment, they need to do it on their own.
Yeah.
And explore. We had a conversation about this earlier this week. Remember we said that the classroom is more of like you seeing them with group pair sharing, is less of teaching.
Remember all the topics.
And allowing to
How to attack.
work together, think pair share, peer groups,
If they knew something,
peer teaching.
Because it's
whatever it was that they were
under control and allowing them to make mistakes. They have to like start making mistakes and be okay with making mistakes. They're able to cope with failure and then try again.
Yeah.
But that's why checklists are important. That's why when we saw this, we thought this was really good because
Yeah.
I know, okay, this is the criteria. So as long as I stay parameters, this is what is expected. Like, how my task is. And so when you get up and present, you have a viable argument. You can say, oh, I don't like it because then that makes it too like And I can't have that conversation. I don't think we're all in the same level.
Yeah.
I think that's just the foundation that we need to have amongst ourselves, is to make sure that we understand at our grade level what Common Core demands.
Our big deal. Rubrics are a really big deal because then they know what they're accountable for, and then if they make a mistake, they can go back and fix it based on
Yeah.
and then the teacher can say, well, I wasn't just making this up. I didn't create this out of nowhere. It's something also you have to learn how to give like feedback.
Of where they're coming from, so that you can respond.
They already do, but then it's just them doing most of the work. When are we going to be?
What's going to come in?
Well, when are they actually going to be taking the actual assessment?
So a deeper,
Because I heard the curriculum in 2015. So I don't think they're going to start it until, we actually have a curriculum that's teaching them. We'll keep having these practices and whatnot, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Even for
Not
next year?
I don't think so.
So we can use
We don't even have the curriculum not even developed yet.
Yeah, I guess that was
That's
my
not-
main
you don't even
concern.
have
Is
an
like,
accurate
yeah,
score if we don't have a curriculum to teach
Exactly.
them
I
accordingly.
can look at them, and I know one of the ones that
typically what's
Craig
still
has been very focused on.
like
textbook
whether or not we change the objectives and
across all grade levels.
tweak it, it's still all standard.
A lot of different
Those
things.
tests pretty much saying well, how did our students do?
Another side of that would also be the math practice
I'm not. That helps them develop.
across all of our grade levels. And all of
In the classroom.
so I think you guys are kind of definitely hitting right on those concepts that we've been thinking about.
if we better understand some of those, the truth is that our, Hardy Brown, hear me
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, can you guys hear Craig?
Can you hear
We
me
haven't
all
brought him
right?
back yet, so I
Oh, okay.
haven't brought
Oh, all
everybody
right.
back yet. We were just kind of continuing the conversation,
Well,
but
we can.
maybe this is a good place to bring everybody back
Let's
in.
bring back, and then let's break out again, because maybe we need a couple minutes to reconnect and then think again. So, Hardy Brown, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. On our end, a couple of things that came up, and we haven't exhausted everybody yet, so we probably will want to go back and have another chance to listen to everybody, but a couple teachers have brought forth some very important points that really focus on assessment as a big issue, both aligning our assessments that we currently have with the Common Core, as well as how do those assessments connect to ultimately our the California assessment of
Smarter balance.
Smarter Balance, yeah. Student performance and progress. So that's one issue. Another is a concern that perhaps we haven't had enough of a deep understanding of what the Common Core standards are and what they mean big picture and across grade levels well enough to then apply to the curriculum that we have. How does that sound appropriate? Okay. And this also brings up, although the fact is that last summer and for a little bit in the fall we had a little deeper dive from the county office, it was so quick that it really wasn't enough to sink in and have enough of an enduring conversation across our grade levels to stick and to be applicable into our classrooms. Is that, okay. And so what this sounds like from what I'm hearing is with a greater and deeper conversation, with understanding better the depth of the basis of the Common Core will help us in our application to the actual curricular areas. Any thoughts from Hardy Brown along those lines before we add something else in?
Did we miss anything that
think-
you guys were talking about? Because I heard your guys' conversation, but what is there anything that we're not encapsulating in those?
Yeah, actually, I'll let the teacher leaders share. They did have some ideas, but along with what you have listed so far, that's right along the lines of what I was talking about per se, because I was saying I want to make sure that it's aligned to our curriculum, but also that we're implementing Common Core. But I wanted to all to fit and us to chunk it in sections and take time because we're implementing Common Core and then our curriculum and technology. So we just need to come up with some type of plan where it's not overwhelming for not only the scholars but the teachers.
Very good point, an excellent point, and it fits exactly into what was brought up here. That concern that without that deeper understanding of the base of Common Core, it's going to be daunting. And the Common Core is large, it's huge. It's not quite as scary as I think it seems. Part of the scariness is the unknown. But the truth is, if we can dive into that a little bit more, I think we're going to see a lot more similarities between the Common Core and our previous content standards, and even the connections to our current curriculum than we might imagine are the daunting differences. So part of what we really have to do is dive in. Part of our PD really can be a sustained conversation where we keep coming back to asking the question, are we learning more about the Common Core? Are we more comfortable with its place in our classrooms?
I think Ms. Karen had something to add.
Okay, well, mine was more from a very just practical perspective, like the actual tasks that students would perform in the classroom and how, you know, the assessments. So, for example, when we were looking at the test this summer, the online test that they actually, the Smarter Balance test, and the activities we had to do, or upper grades would have to do, we saw that there were typing skills that were necessary. We saw that students would have to go on field lessons and have some kind of background knowledge. So the idea is the tasks that they will perform in the classroom. So more presentations, understanding how to facilitate small group discussions and let it be a true facilitation and the teacher kind of back up from the discussion and let the students lead. What else can I say? I don't know.
Yes, that sounds very appropriate, and I think that fits under, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but it seems like that fits under part of the way in which we structure the assessment alignment. That if we're interested in understanding what the Common Core assessments are through SBAC or the CASP, that we have to, you know, we're not teaching to the test, and our end goal is not acing the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. Our goal is to get students to achieve the standards and be able to prove it on the CASP. So once again, if we're addressing the basic understanding of the Common Core state standards, if we are working with assessments that help our students truly respond well on the test, they should also be able to simply, you should be able to do these activities. So our assessment alignment activities in our professional development should simply offer opportunities to do that on an ongoing basis. That's the beauty of ongoing professional development, that it has over something like the flash in the pan large-scale workshop presentation. Probably one of the things that I discovered that I think was one of the most important discoveries of the project I did with the kindergarten and first grade teachers was that whatever they understood from the workshop professional development, no matter how well presented it was, no matter how wonderful and how much they approved of it or agreed with it, there was a disconnect between that and classroom application. So our job, and what made it more successful for the kindergarten and first grade teachers in my little project, was taking what we learned in the workshop professional development that was presented by the county office and making it personalized to a specific piece of the classroom application, which means that we're narrowing it down. The focus keeps getting narrowed. We're not going to become Common Core experts overnight or even next year. This is going to be ongoing for several years, and our growth will be determined to a great extent by our consistency and our persistence with little pieces at a time. We just have to choose what are those big picture important pieces. And if we look at language arts, one of the biggest things that overarches much of the language arts Common Core is text dependency, both in narrative and expository literature. So we don't have to. I'm open to a lot of things, but I think we should consider strongly that be one of our big foci. And that, if there are other thoughts to that, I want to hear them as well. But I think that that's a piece that under which you can apply a lot of other language arts elements. When it comes to mathematics, we did get a nice presentation on, even though we need more depth into it, those practice standards, 8 practice standards that, again, overarch the entire progression of math Common Core standards, kindergarten through 12th grade. That's another area we can look at. But I am open, we are open to other thoughts. But those are 2 that I throw out to you and ask you what thoughts you have about that. I think we definitely want to make sure that we get assessment and alignment of assessments to make sense with our curriculum is one of the major pieces. Is there anybody who feels that that's not a piece that is of primary concern? Shall we take a few more minutes now to talk about what specifically in language arts and in math we might focus on? Wes, can we take 2 minutes on that?
Yes.
That's a broad question.
So did you guys hear the question for the next 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to set the clock, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Do you mean like,
as to specifically?
I guess maybe go over text dependency, like what skills we do,
And what do we mainly want to focus on based on these standards?
Novels and
Or just in general, including our curriculum, or
even the anchor
I wanna,
standards or
like
something?
what specifically are we?
Common vision.
I would say maybe key IDs and details. Maybe that one we should focus on, because that one pretty closely determine what the text says explicitly.
Less?
Because,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
But the truth is
Hello?
we're trying to be uniform in that across 4 schools. So I don't have any problem with discussing
Hello?
additional and so on. But we still have to.
Are you trying to get my attention? I thought I heard you
We
say
have
my
to
name.
Work with fidelity
Maybe
with
not.
the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt excursions and the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt or the Harcourt school math. So those are our 2 curricula that we do have to work with. And there are times when in the differentiation for your students, you can go above and beyond that. I don't see any reason not to. But the application of, for instance, text dependency or math standards is something that we can apply quite directly to the curriculum we already have in place.
One of the things that they're definitely discussed not only within our program but within our teacher education program, and this has been drawn out over a lot, is how are we adapting curriculums to the Common Core standard? And that's really a big thing that we're pushing. One thing that we know is that there has been no curriculum adopted for ELA. That's not going to happen until 2016. So we are getting closer to that point. Sorry. But without that, we're not going to adopt a new curriculum until the state adopts a new curriculum. Partially because it's law. As a elementary school and a middle school, we're not allowed to adopt a new curriculum. One thing we are allowed to do is to continue to use the same curriculum for as long as we feel like it meets the needs of our students. But we also know that with the Common Core standards, one of the big keys is we are going to have to supplement. And it kind of goes back to what we've said before. We're always going to say it's okay to supplement, but we don't want to supplant. And so in terms of supplementing, what do we have to do to supplement our curriculum to get to that point that we want to get to? And really that's sort of the big question now that we're focusing on. That's what we're trying to get to, because the next step for us is next year we're going to be teaching our curriculum.
If I keep covering,
So how do we teach our curriculum in a way that meets the standards that are in front of us?
More so understanding the common core and so one of the things that I've been looking at is that the text dependency is the increase. And my kids need to be able to differentiate what private text is. And I framed it around this idea. What do you do? This is what a good reader does. I'm going to look at this piece of text and I'm going to say, is this fiction or nonfiction? If this is nonfiction, this is how I'm going to approach it. And I'm going to use a series of strategies to kind of go down and check
The school to
how I'm
focus on one.
I'm asking.
Stuff.
Can't hear you and can't see you.
We first identified it. We looked at the title and it says, so what is a good reader going to do?
I see that.
Say,
What was your question?
Oh, God.
and they going down these different elements. So,
I mean, I heard him. He said he wants to
as
focus
long as
on
we're
for
speaking
ELA
in
math.
common language of what text dependency is, how we
For math, I would say still precision. I don't know, that way we could just really focus on precision,
strategies I
that way maybe
understand what I read.
and think.
One, I'm going to do a check for understanding.
Oh, you're in the
And then
conversation.
stop, I'm going to go back and reread. So it doesn't matter what.
Yeah, you did.
And it doesn't matter what's in front of me. My only issue is I don't think we have enough. One story a week is not going to teach the standard.
Well, that's a possibility. I don't completely agree, but I don't disagree.
In regards to the English standards, I mean,
We do have additional,
honestly, I think
there isn't any reason
the ideas and details,
others as
that
well.
would probably be to me the most important.
Amazing
I think overall, as a like what you were saying, like even starting in kindergarten all the way to sixth, I would say that one would be the one you're gonna like focus on and yeah.
that we should be pulling from as well.
Yeah.
So we do have additional resources,
Good idea.
and actually how we delve into making more of the materials that we have is part of what we will need to talk about.
Homework this night, and
I don't disagree
Warren was
that
talking.
would help as well. And I don't disagree
She was
that
every week
we
they do cross grade level meetings.
I think that there is so much we can do.
Only just probably for each session, but they get like really sit down and
So
exchange.
that itself is
And that's what I like about
the actual, as far as the stories that we have.
Values of the teachers.
Instruction.
It's kind of like we were going back to a year ago. Cross grade level.
But
Yeah, I'm not
that certainly can be on the
Too
table.
hard. Yeah.
and then we don't have plenty of time. Like we need the time to get our stuff together.
Professional development is probably the best time.
Yeah. So I mean, just I don't know, and we're good at like kind of linking and going and visiting each other, but it's not really.
Yeah,
formal.
I would say even making better use of the Hangout, because then it wouldn't really require you to be at school.
That's true too.
Like maybe it's just like, hey, just want to check in. Like I have this really good idea. Like here it is, you know. And then like all 3 people or whatever is in your grade level.
And not only that, I was telling Ms. Balcazar, because she's only 6th grade teacher. You're the only 6th grade teacher.
Mhm.
Those with single grades, it's even beneficial for you hangouts too, because you could communicate with the other Fortune schools. It's a lot easier now versus email.
Right.
You get on Google Hangouts and share ideas, or even like you guys, you're not the only teacher, so share ideas with Gambino and the other 1st grade teachers.
Yeah. And I am totally guilty of that too, because I'm like
just the folks at your school, because in kindergarten and 1st grade, you're like,
every day, so
yeah,
I'm on like such a strict schedule. But I mean, that would be useful for me to really, especially during this Common Core time.
You really need to give more opportunity.
Just on a broad scale, get all the 6th grade teachers together within Fortune.
Become
That would help me.
What I was also thinking was I have the
You
unique.
shouldn't be an island. And we have to be careful of going out and doing stuff that, okay, you're doing it, but your buddy is.
I can take it.
We don't have to be able to watch it.
Yeah. So I think we should all be able to go on and do
And there are different teachers, different abilities and strengths that we can bring.
that where everyone.
Well, we could probably utilize the
In this,
Google, I don't know if it's Hangouts, the Google Apps.
It's
Because remember when you
That's
guys
really why we're here.
view
You've
it?
actually kind of nailed exactly what we're here for.
Yeah.
Aiming for within this group, within all these organizations.
Yeah, because you can share it with everyone, and
We're
then
trying to
everyone
create.
has the ability to say can edit, and then that way, like everyone can kind of like be on one.
If somebody in the 3rd grade has a question,
Maybe but everyone can see your comments or something like that, and at least view the scores.
we can say, okay, we've developed ourselves and we have an idea of what our curriculum is and also where it needs to be in order to meet Common Core. And so we have created this resource as a product that we've put together that, hey, we know that for this part of the standard,
It means the mathematical practices, right?
versus on top of
Is
what
that what you mean?
So it's these.
we know that the curriculum
Actual practices. So I'm thinking he
on the blueprint.
just wants to know like what
No,
are
it's going to be what pushes the assessment.
Yeah.
So it's really important for us to develop that, and that's really why we're here today. Our next step is to not only take a look at these, but also kind of think about who
I can't make it too.
feels like they can take some of this on, and really kind of think about where your strengths are. And when I say think about where your strengths are, I really want you to think about what is something that you could do that's not going to necessarily be
What do we can only focus on one thing, not even
doesn't have to be. We don't want anybody to be so overwhelmed by what they're doing here that they can't do what they already do in the classroom.
Remember
It would be different.
aligning the lesson plans according to this. Yeah.
That's
I don't know if they
what we should do.
remember this, but this is a good.
So you've been identified by your principals as leaders on your campus. And so the thought process behind having you here is
like
that you
for
can,
me, like that just like screams younger grade.
in a way that you can help
Math.
your peers really
For
get
me,
to know
it needs to be more of
a big part of
there were
the first part of what we're looking for. The second thing is, we want to leave here today with sort of
like number 3.
how we're going to go about
Critiquing like
developing
like how does
we talk about developing those next steps and people.
if that's
We are talking about what's going to happen with this.
different, is that the same like
Symposium coming up. We have our summer institute coming up, and then we have a brand new
when they're trying to just understand
for
this
weekly PD. So it's ongoing and it's substantial. And it's got opportunity to really go in and dig deep into some of these topics. Now we've opened with the first couple topics, and we are definitely, our focus is thinking about text dependency and mass practice.
Answer
It
to
doesn't mean it's the only one. It just means that this is sort of what we thought as a starting point. And you brought that into this conversation.
in red with the
Named it, and definitely talked about getting into a more a higher level of depth.
They could justify their solution.
Understand. The assessment part,
Give it to them in a
there
sentence.
is an answer for the assessment.
Answer it like that.
How are we aligning our assessments?
There you go. You're like laying the foundation.
That's the
They're not there.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Common
got
Core
it.
standards, not only the Common Core standards, but the Smarter Balance.
Between-
And part of that is the big rollout that's kind of coming up. Illuminate, which was supposed to be this year,
We have to do.
but it's taken
I think
Yeah.
long to implement this year, for it to be effective this year, is going to be a major part of what we do over the summer.
to dig deeper
And
first.
the major thing that comes from Illuminate is the ability to really
All have to be very
assessments
knowledgeable
that
what
are
the
designed
Yeah.
what are
according
some
to the Common Core standards.
technology, but like
Designed by the same people who are involved with the designing of the
who
Smarter
should
Balance.
do it? What does that look like?
All of the standards have been looked at and
But
have been addressed in
Then,
assessments that are already
on one piece of
There are
paper,
progress monitoring assessments. There are some assessments
you
that have full
you email to everyone like
of when to give these assessments,
this
what
is
they cover. And for us, the work is going to be looking at our curriculum.
it so we can decide.
Okay, what parts of the curriculum do we do when?
Perfect.
And
and I think it needs to be
to
more
give the assessment that falls on this at this time.
really chunking all that
But
together.
we're also going to have the ability to bring in the assessments that are already in our curriculum.
Or and
Parts of our curriculum do go.
about the
Look
timeline.
at progress monitoring assessments. It
Yeah,
is
it's thrown all over.
No one did it.
Yeah.
it does go deeper, and if we keep it to that
And I
level,
did ask, what did you do? Like,
bring
how
those
did, what did you implement?
illuminate,
That's important for us as
and we can supplement.
are them
So
to.
we have the ability, starting next year, to really look at what does it look like when the on the Smarter Balance assessment. We have the practice test. You've all seen the practice test now. But not only that, we have assessments that are designed to show progress towards meeting those goals on the Smarter Balance assessment. And we're going to take advantage of that. So a big part of today is, well, who's going to do that?
We just focus
Look at those things.
on 1, 2,
Um,
3.
And I part
Design.
of that is I'm the lead on the Illuminate. That's something that I'm going to be
And having, yeah, that's,
role. But it's also something that there's a bigger part to this. And if you go back to looking at Miss Williams' question, you were talking about how we need to have more to supplement to it because it doesn't go deep enough. Well, part of Illuminate is another program called Activate. It's kind of like RTI, but it's even, you're exactly right. It is the RTI. The Activate is, it has what they call playlists for every standard, predominantly in higher grades, in the testing grades. But there's still going to be materials there that can be used to supplement our material.
Wes, excuse me. Is Hardy Brown hearing me?
Hardy Brown, are you hearing me okay right now?
Yes.
Yes.
So we didn't know if you were back or if you were just talking to a group.
I am. We're not back officially. We got into this kind of a bigger conversation, but I can definitely recap what we're saying. Our purpose for being here today is that we are really looking to give some of our teachers the ability to be leaders in our professional development. And that's really what we're here for. We're planning our professional development that's going to happen over the summer when we all come together as a group. We are going to be planning our professional development that we're going to be doing at the site level during our summer institutes. And of course, we're going to be planning what we're doing for our professional development on our Wednesdays. Every site this coming school year is going to have early release Wednesdays for students. That's designed to give us more time to come together and collaborate as a system. Not just at the site level, but as a system, we're going to come together and collaborate. Which means, you may find yourself, particularly for Hardy Brown, you may find yourself using a Google Hangout at a grade level, as a grade level function. So your third grade teacher will contact with our third grade teachers here, and you'll be working together to look at something like text dependency and how to develop that part of your curriculum, what you need to supplement to it. And our goal is to create resources for teachers to come in and really get support when they need to know what to do to supplement. And that's really sort of our big goal here. And then the next step that I went into is, talking about each of the things that you guys have brought up. When we talk about assessments, well, we have a resource that's going to be the key for our assessments. With Illuminate, which will now roll out this summer instead of when it was supposed to roll out, which was at the beginning of third trimester, but we're going to be rolling it out over the summer. So everybody's going to receive a significant amount of training in what Illuminate can do for us. But the key thing that Illuminate does for us is they bring us assessments that are already aligned to the Common Core standards. And they're set up as progress monitoring assessments as well as summative assessments. Not only that, but we're able to actually bring up the assessments that we have been using, the assessments that we already find that are rigorous enough to meet the needs of Common Core. We'll be able to upload those into the system too and use those also. Did I catch everything that I went over? I think the last part was Activate, and Activate is part of the Illuminate program that we have access to actually right now. It's not something that we actually have to wait on because it's free to everybody. But Activate is an RTI program. Ms. Williams pointed that out very astutely. It's an RTI program that is really based on every standard having materials that you can use to dig deeper into each additional standard. It's not great for every single grade level, but it is definitely good for our tested grade levels and above. And we will be able to add to Activate too, because we all become part of that community once we start using it. So that's an opportunity for us to take some leadership there too. Really what we're trying to leave today with is an idea of who's doing what within our group, within this group. And before we jump too much further into that, I really want to pass on the message that Margaret gave to me today, which is to say thank you again. I hope you could see the gratitude that we had in the email I sent. That was definitely my intention. But we really appreciate the fact that there are people within our organization who are willing to step up when asked. And the fact that you're willing to and you're able to means a lot to us as an organization. It means a lot to us in terms of really developing our people, because one of the things that we noticed, and this is a huge credit to Mr. Gambino, is that when he took part of the lead in the use of technology, that it coming from him, it was so much stronger than it would have been if it had come from me. And we know that. Or if it had come from Margaret. And we know that. We need to have the same impact with the Common Core. We need you to be that. We need you to be those leaders on our campus that when somebody says, I don't know how to teach this right now because it's new and it's brand new, we've already developed some expertise on each site that people can go to and be a resource for. And so that's really what we're looking for. And I can tell you from experience, the best way to become an expert on something is to teach it. We all know that, right? Well, it's the same as true when you're teaching practice. We're going to dig into these professional development sessions, and you're going to get a chance to really look deeper into this. So, Ms. Howard, I know you asked about making sure that we are really, really focusing on the Common Core with a high level of depth. Well, you're going to have an opportunity to be up at the front end of that if you choose to stay here, and we hope you do. That's why we want you here. It's really important to us to be able to start digging into these concepts. The first four, or the first three that we're really focused on right now are aligning assessments and looking closely at text-dependent instruction as well as the math practice standards.
And all of that falls under the umbrella of understanding the standards better.
Right.
And the standards are large. It's a big delineation. But the way in which we're going to understand it better is to focus on what we know are some big chunks of it, rather than trying to feel like we have to accomplish everything at once. So rather than saying, you must now become an expert on the entirety of the Common Core State Standards, it's we're all going to work together and accomplish some of our priority chunks and work our way through and get more and more of it. So that's part of the reason why the things that we've chosen so far really do cover big pieces of that.
Because we have crosswalk and other big topics so that
Mhm.
it's some kind of regular conversation.
Absolutely.
For the,
Cor-
you mean
so
in order
correlation
to
between-
correlation between our current curriculum,
Right.
which is content standard based, and the Common Core state standards, which are a different set of standards.
Absolutely.
That certainly is a tool, absolutely. And there's no reason we can't use the crosswalks as a tool as we investigate text dependency, math practice standards, and our assessments. I don't think they need necessarily to be an end in themselves, but they're a valuable tool that we can. So that's absolutely, and you know what? That's exactly the sort of thing that comes from you, right? You know, we've already played with that a little bit. Okay, let's use it. Let's pull it out. And the crosswalks that we use, which were published on the SCOE website, actually I think are from Santa Clara or Santa Barbara or something like that. They're not foolproof. There are fallacies in it. I've discovered some myself, but only as I have investigated them. So as we use them, we have to go with a critical eye to make sure and sort of correct things as we use them.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So as we get closer to wrapping up for today, we have a couple more things that we need to accomplish before we can go. The big two are, one is kind of developing committees within ourselves. And so thinking about where your strengths are, whether it be with technology, and that would mean that your strength would be in looking at these assessments, really being able to use the technology. Or if it is in the, if you already looked at text dependency, if you feel like you've got a pretty good hold of it at your grade level and it's something that you could understand at other grade levels.
Or maybe you don't. Maybe the point is that's what your curiosity is, right? So
yeah, I think yes, but I also think if you're doing sort of a strength analysis right now, and that's really what we want. We want you to kind of think about where are your strengths right now. If you're somebody who's very comfortable with the math side, I know for me, I could never volunteer for that because I never taught math and I'm not comfortable with math. But if you are comfortable with that and you've maybe taken a peek at the math standards, or you're strong in math and you know that the math practice standards are going to be super important, so it's important to you to get to know these, and this is something that you could dig your teeth into and really get into, that would be a good place for you to start. Those are the things that we're kind of thinking about right now. There are 8 of us here, I believe, not counting Mr. McJunkin and myself. Is that right? I
there's
see
7 of us, but the 8th would have been.
Miss-
Well, Mrs. Ram is not going to join.
Okay, so there's 7 of us, so we're really looking at maybe 2 people per subject area. And then Craig and I will definitely be supporting on some of these, as well as Miss Lund, who's going to be here starting next week. She'll be at all of them from this point forward. So it's really important to kind of like think about what you want to dig into and what you want to do. And we actually have 3 more at Hardy Brown too, so we actually have 9 total right now. And we definitely want those of Hardy Brown people. 10. Okay, I'm sorry. We definitely want those of you guys to be involved in this too. So we really want to think about what are the areas that you feel comfortable with. What is it? Is it that you want to be you're comfortable with looking at technology to do the first step, which is assessment and alignment of curriculum using the assessment tools that we're now developing. Keeping in mind that a big focus of this is going to have to do with how we use Elluminate to do that. Looking at ELA and looking at text dependency is something that you've worked on before or is something that you're interested in and you feel comfortable enough digging into it with more depth that it would be an important part for you. And then, of course, the math practice standards. So what we want to do now is kind of talk about, A, who's going to do what, and B, setting up what you're going to do between now and next week. Is there any questions about that?
No, I was pretty straightforward.
It's
Well,
just
what
those three.
What overarches those three is what Ms. Howard brought up, is the deeper understanding of the base of Common Core so that we can succeed in those areas.
Correct.
Did we
But I
miss
think
anything?
but I think we're dividing into those three subcommittees.
Right.
So
Just one clarifying question then. So, in terms of what Ms. Harn had said about, defining a scope, defining a piece, where do we see that fitting in?
I think that's really going to fall into the assessment category as we look at the assessment, not only from the point of view of what's being assessed and what assessments do we have, but we're also going to be taking a closer look at the blueprints, which I believe have been released at this point.
That's going to be our driving structural force.
Yeah.
And that will actually help to define a lot of our priorities in math and language arts.
And remember, the next step from this is if once we get to our PD, so the team that's on assessment now is going to be leading the PD that's on assessment during summer symposium, summer institute. The team that's working on text dependency now is going to be our team that's leading the professional development during summer symposium and summer institute and Wednesdays, and so on and so forth. And so really we're looking for teacher leaders to be part of our professional development. So you're not just partaking in it, but you're actually leading some of that professional development.
With our support.
With our support, absolutely.
Wes, Robin, and I will be there.
Yes.
Probably in and out of all of them. But
Right. And we will definitely be part of those teams. I know for me already that the assessment and the technology part is a team that I'm going to be very much a part of. I would think that the same is true with text dependency for Greg. And we're going to talk more about the math practice standards as we dig deeper into it. Questions, thoughts, comments? Okay. Very good.
Marcus
All
on
right.
math.
So
Write that man's name down.
I do think that is our next step
That is.
actually,
You gotta do
and
that.
so let's really start to develop our teams.
That's how it works.
Take a minute to think about where you want to be. Marcus has called dibs, but let's have a conversation about it and then come back together and put those in. Yes.
No reason.
Right.
I would want to be involved with, and then you'll just email me the homework, whatever, in school.
So maybe should we go around, or do you want a chance to talk about it and think about it?
I'm guessing you're Chad.
I'm doing through the technology, math,
That's-
and tests.
Yeah. So it's technology and assessment go together.
Yeah.
So we've got assessment, we've got the math, and then we've got
Text dependency.
okay, and then text dependency. And we have Miss Patterson is going to be part of the math standards. So we'll be putting that in, and I'll tell her that works fine.
Right?
She's stuck it in there. She didn't use it.
I'll pick you. I meant kids.
Yeah, go Ashley.
All right, so let's.
Don't sound happy about that.
Oh no, I am way too happy. I'm annoyingly happy about that.
All right, so.
Flexible. That's why.
See, but that's the thing, is we're not. I think we're pretty comfortable with the idea of if you know what you want to do, speak up and say that's what you want to do, and we'll figure out a way to make it work.
Exactly. There's
Because if
space
we don't
for
have enough for one, and it looks like even the one that I was worried about there not being enough for, we had 2 people jump into it immediately.
We're
So
gonna be fine.
I don't think that's going to be a problem. So I've got Mr. Atkins for math,
Ms. Patterson. Patterson.
Ms. Patterson for math,
We've got Ms. Garrison for ELA. We've got Ms. Dillon for ELA.
Dylan. Okay, and we also have Miss Heron for ELA. Miss Heron, am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Okay, I just want to make sure. I feel bad because I'm reading it and I'm not sure if it's
Wait a minute,
Heron.
it's not Erron?
Careful. All right, Miss Patterson is on the math. Miss Heron is on ELA. I believe I heard. Did you say, Miss Williams, where you wanted to be? You didn't say. What about Miss Howard? Come to the tech side.
Mr. Gambino wants to tech.
Okay, so we got Miss Harn is coming to the assessment and test side, and that's really good because we're gonna have. Okay.
We got a K1 block on tech though.
So I would definitely love somebody who's in one of the higher grades to come over to the assessment side with us. Have Miss Allen, I think that would be a good one for you too.
Okay.
You want to do the assessment because I think you've worked with assessments before, right?
Yes.
And I think maybe having you be part of that technology piece would be helpful. Does that sound like a good thing?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
She's an organization whiz.
Yes. All right. So Miss Allen, I've got you on the assessment, and then I want a 3rd through 5th grade teacher. You too.
I'm happy to swap, but I am not a tech teacher.
No. And I understand.
I think we just want her attending.
No, look, ELA.
ELA.
We're just gonna
Feel the
get
ELA
it
love.
right now.
It's good.
I mean, I'm very passionate about it.
It's important to do what you're passionate
Someone else
about.
has to come to ELA.
Yeah. No. We definitely need you at the. And Miss Garrison, we definitely need you at the ELA table too. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah, you kind of stuff there, girl.
All right. So. Okay. So Miss Williams is on ELA. And Miss Howard is on tech. Okay.
Miss Williams
Very
never
good.
gets a break from me.
All right. Atkins. Okay. So right now that means we have Mr. Atkins and Miss Patterson on math, Miss Garrison, Miss Dillon, Miss Harton, and Miss Williams on ELA. Mr. Gambino, myself, Miss Harn, Miss Allen, and Miss Howard on assessment. Excuse me. We probably could use one more on math. Perfect.
Thank you, Ms.
Beautiful.
Harn.
So Miss Harn
You'll
is
be
going to
really
go to
good,
math.
But I would love, that would be good.
All right. So that really does even us out. I think we may want to table the question. Well, we're at 4:30. I want to go around the room. I know you guys are close to the end of your time, and we've already kept you for 3 minutes longer than we were supposed to. One of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to leave with a list of questions that you could bring to your next site level PD. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want you to sort of take the temperature for us. What are some things that you think we could ask your respective staffs that they need support on? So
In the areas that we have.
in the areas that we focused on. So number one, talking about the 3 things: assessment, text dependency, and math. And then maybe just finding out where their concerns are in those 3 areas. And I think maybe that's kind of the general way you should frame it, is that what are some concerns you have about text dependency, about assessment, and about the math practice standards. So that would be the question, and then come back next week, and we'll try to figure out how you can address some of those concerns when you go back the following week. So your site level, you have a weekly staff meeting that your principals are aware of, that you're going to be taking a minute or 2 from them to kind of talk to staff.
So kind of like an open item. It's
And-
going to be an ongoing open item.
You are going to be exactly. You're going to be an ongoing open item. Okay?
Sarah?
I guess we thank you. No, or I'm
just gonna send an email and let them reply back. Because that'll go into extreme absolutely like right off the top.
She's hilarious.
It'll be this app in this Mrs. Hunter like full force.
So, how can, guidance just
Trying to close everything down.
the functional part of it, operational part of the functional. So how we do that.
Yeah, definitely. So it is going to be the number one focus of both our summer symposium and our summer institute. It'll also going to be the number one focus of every Wednesday. So literally from this point forward, PDs, not your staff meeting. Remember, the staff meeting is going to be separate from your PD, from the Wednesday afternoon.
I'm so sorry. That was all my fault.
Right, but that's where, that's starting this coming, So
after we've started our grand start with both the symposium and what do we call them now?
the Summer Institute and the Summer Symposium.
I don't know which one's which.
The symposium's the 1 day. The
3 days.
institute, or 3 days, excuse me. It's 1 day in spring, right?
Okay.
The Summer Institute is the 2 weeks after.
2
that.
weeks. Okay. So
And
the
so-
symposium is 3 days. The institute's 2 weeks. That obviously the base part has to be big there.
Yeah.
Right. The details is something we work out in greater detail over the Wednesday. So we really have to set kind of our culture, our motion, our focus, and our understanding of the base during those first big things where we're together.
We set up a conversation with that.
Well, we can probably talk. We can probably take what we have decided here so far with our people. We can kind of arrange that into some notes and send that off to everybody, so everyone has the cheat sheet to talk about as you take this back to your staffs, right? And you can say, here are the things that we talked about in our group. And some questions that really come up are, when we think about the overarching, basically the English language arts, text dependency, the math practice standards, and our tech and assessment, what are burning questions in your mind? And it's possible that some of these things we don't even know yet because they don't have enough depth of understanding to have a good question yet. But they may, right?
I'm not gonna hide it.
If you're talking.
No, all right.
Forgive me.
All right. So is everybody clear on sort of our next steps? When you're at your next staff meeting, ask the question. If you are on a committee, it's time to set a time to have a discussion with people on that committee. So between now and next Wednesday, you want to take a minute to check in. And just a starting point, just a brief, you don't have to have anything developed right now. We're not expecting you to come back with, hey, we've got a whole year's of PDs planned in 1 week. That's not what we're looking for at all. What we're looking for is that you are starting to familiarize yourself with what's available.
One of the questions that you might ask, or that might start your mind going, is what do you see as most valuable? A large chunk of time, consecutive time focused on each of these things one at a time, or a little bit, do we spend every other Wednesday or every third Wednesday on this? Do we give equal time every third Wednesday? Do we give larger chunks to one segment and feel better about it and then move on to another? Do we do it, by trimester? How do they think they would best learn and make sense of the information that we're going to be investigating?
So we're not just bringing up our focus, we're bringing up all 3 focuses, or
Yes.
so. I mean, do we want to then develop more of like a staff survey to collect this information as opposed to having a separate conversation?
Yeah, we can
You want
definitely.
to? Absolutely.
I mean, I think if we had a survey to pull everyone's responses into one space, it's much easier to aggregate what everyone's thinking.
Google Docs, something that you could work on together, we might have a more uniform.
So yeah, so if
I
we
think
had a
that's
survey
definitely
for us to find
Aggregate.
and organize, I think that would be effective. My only concern is once our staff meeting at William Lee.
Right. When is Fortune School staff meeting? Monday? I just want to be clear on when those are. Okay. So William Lee is on Thursday. On Thursday. Miss Allen, when is your meeting?
Our meetings are on Tuesday, but next week we're going to have a staff meeting because in lieu of the LCAP meeting, I'm asking all the teachers to attend on Monday.
Okay, so
We missed the first part.
we missed the first part.
Oh, our meetings are usually on Tuesday, but next week, in lieu of our academic strategy meeting, I'm asking the teachers to attend the LCAP meeting when Dr. Rex Fortune and Robin are down here on Monday.
Okay.
But Ms. Harron's going to send out an email to them.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Thank you. That'll work. And then Fortune School, your guys is on Monday. Okay, so it sounds to me like we need to have that survey sort of done before tomorrow. Mr. Gambino, I can start to work on that tomorrow. I have some time while I'll be testing people at Fortune School. I can be multitasking. I'll send it to you. I'll send a link to everybody tomorrow. Take a peek over it if you can on your lunch break. I'll send it out to you before 10. Is that early enough? Okay, so I'll send it out to you before 10. If you take a look at it, say yes, this looks good. No, add this question. I'll be able to add those things in, and we can go from there. Okay? All right. All right. I believe that means we are ready to adjourn. Is there any other questions for anybody while we're here? Okay. You guys are good? Mm-hmm. Okay. I am going to end the broadcast now. You guys have a great evening.